Yo, what's up? This is B-Hop. I'd like to say what's up, man. E-Thriller, the Black Mikasa. What's going on? This is the champ, the Hall of Famer. Respect, the undisputed. Yeah.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
The Black Picasso cleaning up the sport of boxing, speaking facts over the gossip. Haters all up in the comments. I ain't here to be liked, but smash that like and noti button. We don't sugarcoat nothing, just healthy boxing discussions. E-Thriller, painting these pictures oh so vivid. Applying Duke, Coach K, that straight full court pressure. Only God could judge me, so tell these chumps ducking smoke. Remember one thing that the boxing guys don't like, ugly. Shut out Big Fish and everybody that joins the panel. For all my new supporters, sub to the channel. Like Floyd say, it's easy work. That bait jab with that left hook send them straight to sleep. Experts, we the experts. We never sugarcoat. Tune in to Black Picasso. Sit back, enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
Now, before I get into what I'm about to get into, I just want to make sure that each and every last one of y'all hit that like or dislike button. Don't forget to put some Coach K Duke full court pressure on that sub button if you're new to the channel. And please be sure to ring that noti bell so you can be notified via email each and every time your boy E-Thriller, a.k.a. hamrothstein, a.k.a. the Black Picasso, because I paint these pictures so vividly with my words on the sport of boxing whenever I feel like it. And once again, fight fans, ladies and gentlemen in the Wolfpack, welcome back. Now, first things first, man, it is an absolute honor and a privilege to have this special guest on with us tonight on the Wolfpack. This brother right here is one of them boxing aficionados that I can sit up here and listen, talk about the sport of boxing all day long. This man has been in the boxing business for over 30 plus years and counting. So without further ado, let's give a big old round of applause to one of the greatest ones in the sport of boxing. Yeah, I said it. Shout out to Rick Glaser. You're live on the chat with E-Thriller and the Wolfpack. How are you, kind sir?
I've been looking forward to this for a week. It's finally come true.
I appreciate you for joining us, my brother. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Thank you. You fine gentlemen, all your viewers, listeners, subscribers. If you like what I have to say, smash that like button. If you don't like what I have to say, smash me.
Appreciate that, Rick, man. So let's just get right into it. Shout out to my guy, the unbiased fan, Brim Reaper. Make sure y'all go sub up to my brother channel. How are you, kind sir? I think you're on mute, Brim. Unmute your mic.
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. I'm doing pretty good. What's up, gentlemen? I'm glad to be here with you guys and chop it up and talk about this wonderful history that Mr. Glaser has had in this sport that we all love called boxing.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it, man, because I know Rick is a very busy guy. So the first question I have for you tonight, Mr. Rick Glaser, is who is to blame for the failed contract negotiations between Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Bud Crawford, in your opinion?
The great obstructionist, Al Heyman. I can't say that Earl didn't want the fight because I don't know that, but everything is Heyman. All these fights getting stopped all over the place and not getting off the ground and having guys give up titles and move out of weight classes when somebody challenges is not one of his fighters. It's just everybody's wore out and tired. The media is tired. The fans are very tired. People in the business are just throw their hands up in the air. I mean, big fights going to purse bid, and they don't want to fight. People bid, and people lose $15,000 when they put a purse bid up. They put the money up for the fight. They have to put a deposit down, a non-refundable entry fee, as we call it, and then they have to fly somebody there, and it's the same old song and dance. Where are these fights that they keep talking about? Every fight gets pushed off. I mean, here's a guy that got out of the ring last June, I believe, or last May. And Jamel Charlo became the undisputed 154-pounder. I'm a huge fan of Jamel's talents and his gumption. He announces he's not fighting until late January.
Right.
I mean, this has got to stop. This guy's supposed to be in the ring 120 days later after being undisputed champion. Right. I mean, his mandatory Tim Tszyu And he says, okay, well, we're not fighting until late next January. I mean, here we are. We were in May. I believe it was May, wasn't it, guys? I believe.
Yeah, I believe that
so,
fight was
yeah.
in June or something like that.
I thought
Well,
it was
even if
May,
it
it
was,
might have been May
It was right
even
after
if
the
it was
Ugas and
June,
Earl fight, if I'm not
7
mistaken.
months later.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. I mean, everything is just, the boxing business works smoothly. Everybody defending their titles 2-3 times a year.
Mhm.
Jamal Charlo hasn't defended his title since June of 2020, I believe. I'm almost positive it was June of 2020. Okay, here we are going on 23.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sorry, maybe it was 2021. I'm sorry. So it's going on 2 years. By the time he gets in the ring, it'll be like 20, 21 months. I mean, why didn't he fight? There was no injury. What it was Al Heyman, because Showtime cut the money back. Al Heyman tried to cut Charlo back, and he put up resistance to fight for less money, even though it was an easy fight. I mean, the guy's not exactly a brain surgeon. What can I tell you? You fight the kid from Poland, and for whatever they give you, you're happy to get the win, get a paycheck, and move on. But these guys are not rocket scientists. And he hasn't made a dime in a couple of years. I mean, it's just out of control. Here, Spence wins. Well, I'm going to go play on the ranch for my horses and chickens.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
could
infamous
you
quote.
imagine Marvelous Marvin Hagler saying that Terrence Crawford wants to fight you? He turned to Bob Arabs and where's that motherfucker? I'm going to tear off his head and shit in his neck.
Yeah.
And here they ask him about Terrence Crawford. Well, I don't know about that. I'm going to go play with my horses and my chickens on my ranch. Now, mind you, the guy's originally from New York City. What did he develop this love for horses and chickens? He was born on Long Island. Not a lot of horses and chickens on Long Island.
Mm.
There's no ranches there.
No,
I
it's
mean,
That is a fact.
everything about PBC and the fighters is a big fraud. I mean, it's like
I think you went on mute. Rick, I think you're on mute. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you, Rick.
Can't hear you, Rick.
Rick, we can't hear you.
Rick,
Can't
we
hear
can't
you.
hear you. I think you accidentally put yourself on mute. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
We can see you, but we can't hear you.
You may want to log out and then come back in if you have to. All right, I apologize for the technical difficulties, man. But yeah, Rick was cooking, man. And just to piggyback off of that point that he made about Jamal Charlo, Brim, I seen a stat the other day, right? And it stated Jamal Charlo has had one fight in the last 865 days.
I actually had a video on that, and it was disappointing. But Rick's back.
Yeah, there you go, Rick. Are you good? Are you good to go now?
Nope.
called in.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So somebody called in. It flipped
You sound
over.
crispy now. Go ahead.
Just everything they do is like AAA compared to AAA baseball, and it's compared to the major leagues. I mean, everything they do is Mickey Mouse. I mean, tell me something with PBC that's gone smooth in the last couple of years. Nothing.
I don't have the answer to that, Rick. Do you, Brim?
I wish I could give him the answer, but unfortunately I can't. That's why I'm where I'm at right now.
Maybe just to throw something out there, the Earl and Ugas fight got made pretty seamlessly, but other than that, I can't really put anything else other than that got made smooth. Okay. And they paid
and they were both PBC fighters,
right?
So that was easy,
right.
And it only did 129,000 homes on pay-per-view.
I was going to ask you about that, my bro. So it only did 129K. So what was with that 250K that they was reporting a while back?
The next time PBC floats the truth to the press will be an historic moment in boxing history. Uh-huh. I mean, everything they do has just gotten so far out of control. Can you hear me again?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes, you're crispy. Go
ahead. Everything that they've done has just been, lies and fabrications and more lies and twisting the truth and turning it and spinning it. I mean, and if it's not PBC itself, led by Tim Smith, the spin master, putting stuff out to PBC operatives and people that eat their shit right up. I mean, look at Deontay Wilder and Robert Helenius. I reported 77,000 buys, okay, which was the number. Everybody fucking went crazy. I mean, like, I didn't know I was talking about and everything else. All of a sudden, Dan Raphael puts out, it did around 75. They didn't say 77. He's around 75,000 buys to deflect from me, because I hate the bastard. I hate that bastard, and he knows it. It's not a secret. Okay, I announced 8 months before his contract goes up at ESPN. They weren't renewing it. He told people I didn't know I was talking about. Of course, they didn't renew it. But and I had publicly said so. Basically speaking, is it did 77,000 buys, guys. I mean, here's a fight that they expected to do 250,000 plus buys, and they did 77,000. Now let's use even Raphael's figure, 75,000. Come on now, okay? Everything they do is a colossal failure. Okay, and it's just Showtime's had enough, and I don't mean Espinoza, because that's Heyman's pet. Okay, but his bosses have had enough, and I don't know if boxing's going to be on. Showtime will not be a premium network anymore. It'll be an app. It'll be streaming. Whether I can't see new corporate guys at Paramount, which will fall into the Paramount Plus wing. I can't believe that they would ever put on multi-million-dollar boxing shows when they don't have to. Okay, and what I mean by they don't have to is that they could do a 500,000 with the ratings they do. They could do 500,000 homes. Okay, $500,000 shows. Okay. On Showtime, and get those horrible ratings that they get from between 175,000 and 325,000. Okay, it doesn't take multi-million-dollar shows to do bad ratings. They can do bad ratings with $500,000 shows. Okay, they can do bad ratings with $100,000 showbox shows. Yeah. Okay, because they're not the problem with Showtime. Is they're not regular Showtime now, prescription Showtime. They're not attracting general sports fans to their fights. ESPN is attracting general sports fans because it's not a premium network. It's on basic cable, ESPN Plus, and ESPN Deportes. So what you're doing is you're limiting the amount of people that are watching, because I have to subscribe to Showtime at I believe $14.95 a month. I believe it is. I'm not sure. But they're not getting that general sports fan, and ESPN is attracting those type of fans, the general sports fans. That's why as soon as the Heisman's over, they put boxing on, so you get a good feed off the Heisman, and that's how they're doing a lot of their programming. Right after a basketball game, a college basketball game, a college football game, and that's how they're doing a lot of their boxing. And Showtime is not. They're not doing that. You don't go from some science fiction or some love story to boxing, okay? And expect this.
You're right.
Right. There's no correlation. Right. Yep. Right. It would be. Put it this way to you. Okay. If boxing was on after a NASCAR race on ESPN doesn't have NASCAR right now. It's on Fox and NBC. Okay, but if they had an auto race. Okay, yeah, you could get some overlap. If you had figure skating, you wouldn't get any overlap. They turn it off. You understand? Okay. So they've got a stupid movie on that boxing fans don't give a shit about, so the people turn the TV off. There's no correlation. Another problem they have is there's CBS Sportsnet, there's CBS Sports app, and any of their CBS program does not advertise Showtime boxing anywhere. Oh, wow. Okay, where ESPN does, okay, and Fox does occasionally, but Fox is leaving boxing now because Heyman basically, didn't give a shit what they gave him and gave him shit, and that's what they got, and they left. But the point is that I'm making is when they do these pay-per-view, forget about regular Showtime. When they do these pay-per-view shows, they're not getting any assistance from CBS. They're not getting any assistance from any CBS division. Did you guys notice that? Or was just my imagination?
No, we talked about that before. About there's no true marketing and promotion for boxing utilized by the umbrella company itself. So it's definitely glaring. It shows. It clearly shows.
Right. The reason why I keep turning is because my nephew is the director of basketball strategy and analytics for the University of Florida men's Gators Division I basketball team, and they're playing right now, and they're down 57-54 with a few minutes to go in the game, and that's why I keep watching. His name is Jonathan Sapphire.
And they playing a lot of close games, I see. But
yeah, he's supposed to be the foremost expert on analytics in college basketball. So this is his first year at the University of Florida. He just turned, I think he either just turned 20 or 29. When I say my nephew, it's my sister's son. He grew up down the street from me in the same school district where I live. So it's not like he lived across the country. He barely knows me. Just to clarify that. And everybody, awesome. and I'm not Italian, but everybody's Italian. Hey, my cousin, my nephew, my uncle. You know how it goes. I'm not doing that. It's my real nephew. Okay,
now, what you were saying, Rick, in regards to like PBC history, kind of leads me into a question that I have for you, because everybody knows in the boxing community that you have disdain for PBC and how they move and stuff, and
1,000%, and there's multiple reasons for that. They're ruining the sport, they're ruining the business.
Hold on 1 second, Rick. Because the thing is, people try to discredit you because of that, and I wanted to get your viewpoint in regards to why, and then what is your personal dealings in the history of PBC and Al Haymon?
Well, I dealt with Al Haymon before he was PBC. I dealt with Al Haymon when he had his first two fighters, a kid named Derek Edwards, a 4-round fighter from North Carolina at that time. He lives in Phoenix now, and Vernon Forrest. I brought Vernon Forrest to what's that?
No, I said rest in peace. Vernon Forrest was a great fighter.
Right. I brought Vernon Forrest through Charles Watson and Al Haymon to Lou DiBella when Al Haymon was a puke in boxing. Nobody knew him. And I'm the one that brokered the deal. Okay. Then when he asked me to do something for him, and DiBella asked me to do something for them, this is 2001, which was ward off the mandatory with one of the Frank brothers. I don't know if it was Steve or, Raul Frank, one of the two, whichever was the welterweight. Who's the number one contender, so he could fight Vernon Forrest. They said they're not going to do it. DiBella and Haymon said, "Will you try?" I says, "Of course I'll try, but it won't work." Well, he got mad at me when they said no. Of course they want to say no. They were under federal investigation at the time because of bribery of the former president, and there was a federal monitor, and they weren't going to break any rules for anybody. And I told them that, and Al Haymon was mad. Then, after I told him he'd win, Haymon didn't believe that because I said Vernon Forrest was going to destroy Shane Mosley. He didn't believe me. When it finally happened, never thanked me, never congratulated me on that. Then we went to dinner. He sat across from me. It was me, Cedric Kirshner, Mike Akery. Everybody's dead but me and Haymon that were at that dinner table that night. Mike Akery's dead. Cedric Kirshner's dead. Oh, DiBella was there. He's alive. But make a long story short, never thanked me, never looked at me, and he was still pissed off. No problem. You can be pissed off. Okay. Open up your mouth and I'll piss in your mouth for you too. Okay. So fuck him. I moved on. And then he expects me. They tried to bribe me a year and a half ago. They'll give me work if I don't talk negative about Al Haymon. The work was like one piece of work in 4 months. I said, that's not work, guys. Okay. I told him that what I would do is I won't talk about Al Haymon, but I will say if the fights are good, bad, and shitty, and I'll talk about PBC. They agreed to it. I got one piece of work in 4 months. So I said, fuck you guys. So it's just, you know what? They are what they are. How come Top Rank runs so smoothly? How come Golden Boy runs so smoothly? How come Eddie Hearn runs so smoothly? How come all these other companies run so smoothly and they don't?
It seems like when cross-promotional fights are involved, if they're not getting the absolute upper hand, then we're not going to get the fight.
Well, not only the upper hand promotional, but it's like almost guaranteed that their fighter is going to win or not. I mean, now look what he did with Stephen Fulton. Everybody's looking forward to Fulton and Inouye. He pulls Fulton. He pulls Fulton out. Now Fulton's going to move up and fight at 26 versus the guy he already beat, which was Figueroa from Texas. Brandon Figueroa.
Right.
Yeah.
What's that?
And that was a close fight, but he did win. But that's the fight that, you know, I personally, one of my major fights for 2023 that I want to see is Inouye and Fulton, because a lot of people, you know, discredit Inouye. And I say, hey, if Fulton was doing what Inouye is doing, he'd be pound for pound top 5 in most people's eyes. So thinking about that, now I'm wondering if the fight's going to happen.
Not going to happen. That's why he moved Fulton up. He's got the winner no matter what, so he's secure. See, let me explain something to you what's happened to Al Haymon. Al Heyman's 4 wins and 19 losses versus Bob Arum. Except for Andy Ruiz beating Anthony Joshua, he's like 1 for 8 against Eddie Hearn. When his fighters step out of PBC, almost every time they lose. They've got to fight. That's just the way it is.
That's a hell of a stat. You said 4 and 19 against
4 and 19. Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez, I didn't know it was that bad.
Me neither. That's crazy.
Top Rank, matter of fact, I could get you the list. Top Rank keeps a running stats over there.
Please
understand one thing. You know, people ask me, say, why am I so high on Top Rank? How can you not? Bob announces that Haney and Lomachenko, which could be on pay-per-view if he wanted it to be, is going to be on free TV. The list goes on and on, guys.
Are you kidding me? It's a free fight.
It's going to be a free fight. Yeah.
And all 2022, we were getting Martin versus Ortiz for $75 and $79.99. They're giving us Loma and Haney for free.
That's right. Wow. That's the point. That's the point. Now, some of the PBC Johnson jumpers and Haymanites and LDBCers are saying, well, because that fight wouldn't sell on pay-per-view. That's not true. I'd pay to watch Haney and Loma. And so I go by my 3 brothers. Yep. Let me just tell you, I go by my 3 brother-in-laws. My one brother-in-law was Sonia's brother, my wife Sonia's brother. Then my 2 sisters, they're married to 2 guys, and all 3 are what I call general sports fans. If 2 out of 3 want to buy their fight, now don't forget me wrong. Sometimes they get together and watch it together. But the point was, would they buy it? If 2 out of 3 are going to buy it, I know it's going to do well because they're general sports fans. They like boxing, but they're not boxing fans. They're general sports fans. You know, they'll buy it. I'll tell you something that's really a phenomenon in boxing, and we've been lied to so much. I mean, I say we, everybody. Okay? Tank Davis does tremendous gates. He does. Okay? Did a great gate in Atlanta, Baltimore, LA. He does great gates. Guess what? He does horrible pay-per-view numbers. They're all lies. Okay, they're all Leonard Ellerby lies. I've called Leonard Ellerby out on it for a long time. He blocked me on Twitter. They're just lies. They're absolute lies. He did 52,000 buys a year ago, December 5th, against Isaac Cruz. I mean, he does shit buys. I mean, all of them do shit buys. Every show he does. That's just a shining example. And yes, he did go up against Sunday Night Football. How against Patrick Mahomes? How stupid could you be? Can you be that fucking dumb?
They put it on a Sunday night. I remember that.
Wait. There's nothing wrong with a Sunday night. But not up against NFL football, free NFL football, NBC Sunday Night in America, NFL football, and with Patrick Mahomes.
Showtime Mahomes.
What are you thinking? You're not. That shows you that Stephen Espinoza, Al Haymon, Floyd Mayweather, and Leonard Ellerby are not in reality. Okay, and it actually borders on dysfunction. You want to know the truth? It lacked common sense. Which, when you lack common sense, I mean, that's a form of being dysfunctional. And how do you put that on pay-per-view against NFL football? You just can't do it. I mean, what were they thinking? Okay, they weren't. That's what it comes down to. They weren't thinking. And what did they get? They got nothing. They got booked.
It seemed like they were just trying to be different just throw like see him throwing something out and see what sticks.
Because didn't Floyd have like an exhibition on the Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, against Logan Paul? So I'm thinking they try to experiment that. With
but that was in June. There was no NFL football.
Great point. You're right. You're right.
Really good point.
You're right.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. Besides NBA basketball, on a Sunday afternoon in February on President's Day weekend, does anything go up against the Daytona 500? I know you're not NASCAR fans. I get it. But does anything go up? No. NBA basketball on ABC is the only thing that they got going on, right? Because it's not the same demographics. Okay. I get it. Okay. The Indianapolis 500 in May, Memorial Day. What goes up against it? A couple Major League Baseball games, maybe the NBA playoffs. You don't schedule pay-per-view this or some kind of friggin' special event or anything like that. These are historic. These are memorable moments in American history for many people. Maybe not the same demographics of boxing, but remember one thing: if you lose 10% of your crowd for boxing, okay, for a pay-per-view event, okay, on TV, okay, so if you take 10%, it's supposed to do 300,000. You lose 30,000 buys. That's a ton.
That's a lot. Okay? That's a big chunk.
That could be the difference between the network making a profit and losing. And these guys, and I'm only talking 10%. We're not going 20% or any high figure, just 10%. And nothing that they do makes any sense. They just doesn't make. They put on a fight. I'm trying to remember what the fight was in the Barclays Center, and with the winner, I can't remember. It was Danny Garcia, maybe he won, or somebody won. They didn't bring him back right away. The guy sat there for a year and a half and didn't fight. You got to build an audience again. The guy just did 12,000 people. Bring the motherfucker back.
Right.
It seems like this is a crazy thing to say. Okay. And I've been doing this. You want to talk about my background? Mm-hmm. Okay. My background is simple. I started in boxing in January 1st, 1991. Okay. Now that was the day I made the decision to get into boxing. I actually started in May of that year physically, but I made that decision on that day. Okay. And 32 years later, I worked with 44 world champions.
Wow.
As in some form of a capacity. Okay. Sometimes nothing official, but just getting paid for advice, whatever. Mm-hmm. In the meantime I've been an expert witness in 34 boxing cases boxing related lawsuits over the years. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the New York State Boxing Hall of Fame for my business acclaim and for my accomplishments. And I'm an elector in Canastota, which is a voting member there. I vote people into the Hall of Fame, and I'm considered by the federal court system to be a foremost expert on professional boxing in the world. Mm-hmm. And these guys question these LDBCers, Haymanites, Wilder Rats, Earl Sexuals, the Agenda Crew. I mean, all these people, they question my credentials. Why I don't see you at the fight. What do I need to go to fights for? I don't need to go to fights. I mean, I'm going to go to a fight this month. Okay, I got a fight. I'm going to go out in LA. I'm going to fly out there, and I'm going out there. I'm bringing my wife. We're going to go on vacation. I'm going to go to the fights, the Golden Boy fight, on Alex Roach is fighting, and that's what I'm going to do. But I don't go to that many fights. I used to go before I had the cancer in 2016. I was out of action for a couple of years. Physically, couldn't even go anywhere. Wasn't allowed to travel by my doctor. Mm-hmm. I used to go to a lot of fights, but in recent years, I haven't gone to that many fights. The truth of the matter is that I don't need to go to fights. I broker deals every day in boxing worldwide. I have a tremendously good reputation amongst all the people that I do business with. Yeah. I was Don King's go-to guy from 2003 to 2016 when I developed the cancer. Mm-hmm. I work with all the major promoters around the world. I don't work with Golden Boy. I work with Golden Boy. I'm sorry. I don't work with Al Heyman, and I don't work with Eddie Hearn. I think I did one deal 7 years ago with Eddie Hearn. That's not an account. It's just an all one-off deal. But the truth of the matter is everybody knows me throughout the world. Don King says all the time, the guy says, A guy says he's doing professional boxing. He says, "Oh, you know my man Rick Glaser." I don't know Rick. He says, "Well, then you're not in professional boxing because everybody all over the world knows me in boxing, and that's the way it is." And I conduct my business. I'm 24/7, 365. I'll be 65 years old in April,
God bless.
and I'm going to be slowing down only in the sense that on Friday mornings, Saturday mornings, and Sunday mornings, I'm going to be sleeping in because I don't do any business on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. All your business is Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So, you know, these guys, you know, they try to run down my crowd. Oh, you don't man. Who do you manage? I don't manage fighters. I don't manage. I'm not in the management business. I broker deals. I render advice. I solve problems in boxing, expert witness in lawsuits, supply sparring partners, make fights for a promoter. I'm not a manager. Never have been a manager. I do advise several fighters, couple fighters right now that I advise. And it's a lot of times I just work with their manager and stuff, and he pays me. But I don't need to manage fights. Too time consuming. It basically resorts to a high class babysitter, a high price and high class babysitter is what it is.
Hey, Rick,
And that's
what do you feel like is your best accomplishment in boxing, and who's been your favorite person to work with?
Yeah, like as far as your promotional companies that you've worked with in sport.
I've enjoyed my relationship with Don King tremendously. Personally, with Don, I didn't like working with his company because they were the people were dysfunctional. I really enjoyed Bob Arum. I really enjoy working with his professionals there, Bruce Trampler and Brad Goodman. Those guys are both boxing in Boxing Hall of Fame inducted. Matter of fact, Brad just got in December, and Bruce got in like 2010. I want to just show you about Top Rank real quick and give you a little idea. Okay, why did Disney and ABC and you know, the Disney family of companies, why did they choose Top Rank? Well, it's very simple. They run their business like corporate America. They have a chairman of the board, they have a president, they have a COO, they have a chief financial officer, they've got a director, a vice president of boxing operations. They run their company like Disney runs theirs. That's the one reason. Number two is you want to know how well they're run. Bob Arum's in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Okay. Brad Jacobs just got put in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Their COO. Brad Goodman, they're one of their two matchmakers. It just got put in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Their other matchmaker's been in the Hall. Bruce Trampler's been in the Hall of Fame since 2010, and their senior publicist. Okay, his name is Lee Samuels. He is in the Hall of Fame. You have 5 people there in the Hall of Fame that are in the business, that got in for their business purposes. Okay, now Oscar got in for being a fighter. Okay,
right.
Bernard Hopkins is on there. He got in for being a fighter.
Yep.
Name me a company, okay, that has got Hall of Famers working there, including the owner. Well, Mr. Honda in Japan and Frank Warren are the only two, and nobody has a Hall of Famer working for them. So they've got 5 of them, including Arum. What does this tell you? 4 people that are executives there are in the Hall of Fame. Now, what does this tell you? They're a well-oiled machine. They've got true boxing professionals there.
I've caught a lot of flack for this, Mr. Rick, but I've always said that I feel like Top Rank was the best promotional company in the sport as of today.
It's not even close. There's not even a what's the word? There's not even, if this was an automobile race, you know, they'd be at the finish line. The other group everybody else would be 10 laps down and more. It's just the way it is. I mean, they really have their shit together, you know, and they just do. You know, Eddie Hearn just accused them of, he says, oh yeah, they do shows in little buildings and stuff, you know, with 2,000 people. You know, I do stadium shows. No. ESPN wants those shows in intimate facilities because the people are real close to the ring and stuff, and everybody's excited and everything else like that. And you know, and when you put them when every seat's taken and everybody's excited, it looks full on TV.
Mhm.
They're going to Newark. They're going to have a big show with Shakur Stevenson, his next fight in Newark. And the list goes on and on. They're going to go to Fresno, and they're going to have 15,000 people there with Jose Ramirez.
Mhm.
They're going to do 12 to 15,000 with Shakur Stevenson. It's just the way it is. So they pick and choose very carefully where they don't waste money on stadiums okay, because ESPN says, no, let's do it here. Let's do it there. Let's do it here. And they have a great working relationship with the ESPN and Disney, period. I mean, Bob Arum's on a first name basis with Bob Iger. So there you go. Who's the chairman of if not the chairman, maybe he's the CEO now. I don't know. He came back out of retirement. But the point is that they're a well-oiled machine.
Gotcha. Rick, let me ask you a question. Let's shift gears a little bit. Terrence Crawford took a lot of flack for taking a fight with David Avanesyan on BLK Prime, right? Can you enlighten the people on what the official pay-per-view numbers were, Concert? Because I know it was being reported that he did 5,000. Then somebody else said he did 15,000.
No. Okay. So the app they have is worldwide. Okay. It's not in every territory in the world. Don't get me wrong, but it's in a lot of territories. They say it did 120. I don't have any way of disputing that, but I will tell you, based on, I do a survey, okay, per pay-per-view leading up, once the fight is announced, and then once the fight is going into fight week, and going into fight week, I polled 300 people on Facebook. In other words, went and direct messaged them and said, "Are you buying a Terrence Crawford fight?" 78 people said yes. That equates to 26%. That's unbelievably high for an outbet fight. There's your answer right there. So I think it did a lot better than people think it did. I personally know many people that bought it that I didn't survey. So
I know I bought it.
Everybody, I'm sorry.
We both bought it.
Eddie Hearn didn't Eddie Hearn come out and say that he didn't even believe it would do over 10K buys or something like that?
That's right.
Listen, you can't, if Eddie Hearn's not promoting a show, no matter what it is, Eddie Hearn's blasting some portion of the event like it's a joke.
Right.
Okay. And he just does it all. He can't help himself. Somebody said about, I'm not going to mention the name because this guy's a big power broker in boxing. He says if Eddie Hearn doesn't open up his mouth about an event, I mean, if Eddie Hearn didn't open up his mouth about somebody else's event with negativity, it would be a first. So it's always something negative coming out of Eddie's mouth. He can't help himself. But listen, we're all negative in this business. Sometimes you're pessimistic, sometimes you're negative. I'm negative on everything PVC does, but it's in the results. It's in the results. Look, I mean, what's his name? Luis Ortiz, Charles Martin. What price would that's pay-per-view? What they thought they were doing us a favor at $39.95?
That was pathetic. That was atrocious.
Then Areola versus Ruiz and
Ruiz. Yep. That was a fight that should not have been on pay-per-view, but it was.
Nothing that they put on pay-per-view should be on pay-per-view. The only fight was involving Bob Arum. Was the Tyson Fury fights. Yep. I mean. And then we have to hear from the LDBCers that his gloves were rigged and cheated and performance peds and everything. I mean, it's just crazy.
They discredit Fury. And I mean, listen, I was a Wilder fan going into the fight, but at the end of the day, I was like, the count might have been over 10, but it is what it is, and the fight ended up being a draw, even though Fury won most of the rounds. But that second fight, he made it clear. They had a third. He continued to make it clear. You got to give credit where credit is due at the end of the day.
I'm pleading for a fourth fight.
Why?
Okay?
I think it's going to happen.
I want to see him get face planted again. That was unbelievable. That was better than an orgasm.
Yeah, that hurt my soul, Mr. Rick.
You be acting up sometimes. I mean, like,
I was rooting for Wild. I lost money that night. I was rooting for Wild.
You be acting up. No, I think it's time for like Josh. We look like we're gonna get the undisputed. And then I want to see Joshua versus Wilder, but I know that, I heard that Hearn is kind of like easing him back in to help build his confidence before a Wilder fight, because, he get hit one time right with Wilder, it's night-night.
Oh, yeah, he going to sleep experts for sure.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that fight. What does Wilder have left if Joshua hits him on the chin?
We don't
when
know.
You have,
we didn't get a chance to find out versus Helenius.
Right. That's exactly the
That
point.
fight is still interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It'll still do its numbers. I think it should be. Do you think that fight should be in the States, or should it be like in Saudi Arabia, Rick?
You have to ask that question. One's going to do 75 million to 100 million at a site fee, and one will do 25 million at the gate. No, of course not. And don't forget, if Joshua comes here, they got to pay U.S. taxes, and they're not going to pay the entertainer tax. They can go to Saudi Arabia, which is tax-free. So,
okay.
So I just don't think I can see that fight happening. But I also see Ruiz and Joshua maybe happening. Who knows? I know. What I understand is, Heyman wants to see Joshua and Ruiz, and Shelley Finkel, the co-manager with JG's. He wants the Joshua fight because it's a lot more money. He feels they got a better shot to win. So it's going to be interesting. That's going to be push comes to shove, and we'll see what happens there.
Now, Rick, it kind of pivots me. We talked about it a little bit, I guess, but in regards to the whole Crawford and Spence fight, right? Part of the issue was the transparency. I've gotten to debates with people about, why he said he agreed to all terms, and I keep on telling him his lawyer told him, they don't want this fight. There has not been many fights that has had this type of situation where both fighters would be getting no guarantee. And I brought this up yesterday. I just want you to kind of like talk about this. There's only been one fight that I know of note that had something like that, and that was Roy Jones and Calzaghe. Don't you know something about that?
Yeah, I worked with Roy Jones on the show. I was director of competition for the event. I was the one that pieced that fight together with John Wirt, who also ran, ended up being my boss. He ran Square Ring. He was the promoter for Square Ring. And I was the director of competition. I'm actually the one that told him that Roy Jones's Calzaghe's contract was up with Frank Warren. And he didn't believe me, and he was going to sit down with Frank Warren and negotiate. And I said, don't you dare, because you'll be in a lawsuit if you do, because Frank Warren will sue you. But if you don't go to that meeting, you'll be free and clear. Well, in the meantime, he didn't go to the meeting, and I was right, because I had him call up what's his name's attorney. And he said, I don't know where you got your information, John, but he says your information's spot on. And I got rewarded for that event. And as a director of boxing, a director of competition for the show. So that was my role in the show. And I was the one that, everybody had agreed to hire me. Square Ring, which was Roy and John Wirt. HBO had agreed to it. Joe Calzaghe had agreed to it, him and his father, and everybody agreed to it. So I ended up getting, if not, John Wirt would have just paid me for my services, but it is what it is. But they were no guarantees. But they were the promoters themselves, and they ended up getting $4.1 million apiece. Just to let you know.
Gotcha. See, so their books was pretty much open for that.
Oh yeah. What Heyman was trying to pull a quickie, because he was thinking of all the reasons why that Crawford wouldn't want to fight. Only and when they agreed to no guarantee, he said about the transparency. Okay, I'll give you the transparency, but no guarantee. Okay, well, in the meantime, he took the no guarantee with the transparency, but he told what really happened was, okay, Heyman when he did that, Heyman never expected Crawford just to take the fight with no guarantee. He pulled their bluff. So what happened was, he decided, well, the fight's not going to happen this year, because Crawford told him, I'm fighting this year no matter what. He told him.
Yep.
Okay, and then on October the 7th, on Fight Hype, Floyd comes out with the thing, yeah, the fight's not going to happen this year, maybe next year. Well, that doesn't sound very promising. He just took off after that.
Right.
So
Yep.
Floyd didn't, Crawford didn't pull out of a fight. There was nothing to pull out of. The fight didn't exist. It was all hocus malocus.
Thank you for clearing that up for everybody in the chat.
Yeah, because I got.
You don't know how many debates we done had on this topic. We was just debating this topic last night.
Everywhere I go, I have people who are on the arrow side coming at me, and the thing is so crazy is
those are Earl sexuals. They're very dangerous people. Those Earl sexuals.
Tell me about it. They harass me all day.
I was an arrow sexual because I never was dangerous like that. I had an opinion, but I'd listen to your side. But E3 is the reason why my mentality started to change because I started.
I had to reel him in, Rick. Rick,
listen, I don't want to use the name E3. I want to use the name the Black Picasso because I love that name.
Thank you. Hey, I don't know if you know this, Rick, but I have a 19-part series on here's proof that Errol Spence is ducking Terrence Bud Crawford. It's the best series on YouTube. I'm gonna email it to you so you can watch it.
Well, I think years ago when he said about the horse and chickens, I'm a ranch. Don't play with my horse and chickens. I think that said it all, guys.
Well, what about the
easier I'm not
route?
saying.
What about whenever he said, I'm gonna go the easier route and knock out Sean Showtime Porter? That was a duck.
Well, I wouldn't call fighting Sean Porter a duck. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That was a good fight. He won a split decision, maybe.
Yep.
Porter got up and it was a war. It was a great fight. I wouldn't call fighting Sean Porter a duck. I wouldn't. I don't think that's
an easier fight to make because we know how PBC do. But I mean, all promotional companies, keep certain things in house. So,
yeah, but you know what? It's killing. That's killing boxing. What they're doing. See, you see the difference. What the difference is? Heyman has nobody that the public wants to see Spence fight. They don't want to see Thurman. Who cares? Guys fought one time. What, 4 years for Christ's sake?
Twice in the last 4.5 years. Yeah.
How many? What was that?
I said he's fought twice in the last 4.5 years. Actually, on my channel, I dropped his last knockout, which was December 14th, 2013. So it's been 9 years and a month almost since he's knocked somebody out. That's great.
He's been and then he didn't look that great against Mario Barrios in February, in my opinion.
Well, you're right about that. You're right about that. I just everything they do is just hocus pocus malocus. To be honest with you, how come I'm not looking at the Brim Reaper anymore? What happened to you?
He may have to step out and do something.
Don't step out on me.
Work at night. I'm not at work yet, but I work at night. But it was all about what was most convenient for you. So I'll do what I have to do so we can be able to chop it up with it.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. I've been looking for this for a week.
Let me ask you this, kind sir. In your heart of hearts, do you think that fight ever takes place between Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford?
I don't think so because nobody needs the money. There's no desperate people there.
The fact that it has to be desperation to make this fight is just, it's exasperating, bro. And it kind of makes me think about like the overall landscape of boxing. What do you feel like boxing needs to do in regards to the dwindling pay-per-view numbers? Because I've always been saying
a lot of it's theft. I mean, the fact that Bud Crawford, not Bud Crawford, that Tank gets great site numbers and horrible pay-per-view numbers tells me a lot of it is theft.
Yeah, that might be right, but hold up, Rick. Some people are gonna steal no matter what. But if you give the best fights there's possible, then you're going to be running a great chance of doing great numbers. We're not always getting
because for the type of fights PBC puts on, they're only attracting boxing purists, which know how to steal the fights. The boxing fans know how to steal the fight. General sports fans don't know how to steal the fight, so they pay for it. But they're not attracting general sports fans. They're only attracting the people that actually pay attention to boxing on Facebook and Twitter. And stuff like that. They're not attracting general sports fans with these fights. They did with Fury and the Fury Wilder 2. They definitely did 875,000 homes.
Yep.
I just think if you put the best fights together and promote it properly, you're going to get your numbers. But I'm sorry, Frank
Oh,
Morris.
no, you're right, but you're still going to get. Listen, there's the big segment of the population that's stealing it. All the Tank fans are stealing it.
Sheesh.
Speaking of Gervonta Tank Davis, Rick, how do you feel about him whenever he's was quoted saying, "I've never asked for a big fight"? How do you feel about guys like Tank Davis? Because I'm ultra critical of his resume, but not
I'm
his
sorry.
skill
What?
set.
I'm sorry. Repeat what he said, because he says a
So
lot
he
of shit.
said, "I've never asked." He was asked, "Have you ever asked for a big fight?" And he was quoted of saying no on $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. So to that you say what? Because I'm critical of Tank's resume. Hell, there's a lot of people that say he ain't
First
fought
of all,
nobody.
he's not a full champion.
Okay.
I don't know if he's ever been a full champion. He's all he had the secondary belts, and maybe what did way long time ago, years ago.
Against
But
Pedraza, he did. Yep.
against Pedraza, yeah, I thought so. But all these other bouts that he won, all these fights for titles, they're all secondary belts. He only fights PBC fighters. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Wow.
You don't see him asking to fight Haney and Shakur and
Well, he calls
and
them out via Twitter,
Lomachenko.
but he never really wants to fight them. Like he'll call them out on Twitter, but yeah.
Right.
Well, it seems like he's taking a little bit of ownership of his career. And the thing is, I ain't gonna say I get defensive with Tank, because I do hold Tank accountable. I'm just a giant fan of Tank in the ring because he's exciting. But I got to be honest, he hasn't even fought a B-level fighter. I mean, Santa Cruz was B-level at 122.
They were, and he and Rowley were ahead when the scorecards went off. And when it was stopped, Rowley was ahead, and so was he. He was in World War III with Isaac Cruz, who's just a guy. I mean, come on, You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's talk about this realistically. I'm not blaming you guys, but let's talk about realistic. I mean, he's not that good a fighter. He's got some power, but he gets in there with a Shakur Stevenson. He's going to get in Haney, and he's going to get played with.
I don't agree with you, Rick. I think he's still going to lay out. I think as of right now, maybe a couple years down the line, Haney would beat him. But as of right now, I don't think Haney will beat Tank right now. And I think
all of those fights
more talented than you lead on to it. I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Rick, on that one.
I think all of those fights are 50-50. They can go either way, depending on who employs their style on each other.
Here goes. You ready?
Yes, sir.
When you're undecided with the winner, 80% of the time, a guy with the faster feet wins. Think about that.
Now, I will say I am a Shakur and a Devin Haney guy, more so than a Tank. So I'm leaning towards the Shakur over all of them, honestly. But I still think the fight can go either way if Tank catches him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think
that's a big if.
Let me ask you, in your honest opinion, will there ever be another big time pay-per-view superstar in the sport of boxing in today's climate?
Not unless you can hit mainstream TV before, like ESPN, and they can stop the pirating. Those are the two things right now.
Yeah, I don't know what BLK had going on, but there was no way to stream that fight. Like, you had to buy the fight, at least on my end. So I don't know what they did on their end, but yeah, I think that was a hell of a business move on their hand, which is probably why I did $120K.
If it didn't, but I'm not saying it didn't. I don't know. But I know one thing: sold a lot more buys in the United States than just 15, 5, and 10,000 like these idiots were predicting.
People was going off of the Wrestling Observer reports. That's what had me boggling my mind. Like, are you serious right now? But I don't know, Rick. PBC really does bother me right now, because I do feel like it is hurting the overall sport of boxing. But if you haven't noticed, when's the last time PBC signed a top prospect coming into the?
No, when's the last time they signed anybody except the Demetrius Andrade? Who wants to watch him?
He's irrelevant right now.
That's like that's like watching paint dry.
He hasn't fought nobody. Oh my
I
God.
know. He's had a career of tune-ups.
Wow. You ain't lying.
You know how many times when he used to be on HBO, and then when he was on the zone, he'd tell him, "Okay, give me this fight, and then I'll fight I'll take that fight, against a real fighter." The real fight he would never fight a real guy. He priced himself out so high that money wasn't printable. Nobody's going to do the fight.
I
He
would
acts
love
like
to
he's
get
some
your
kind of
opinion. Go ahead, Rick. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go
he
ahead.
acts like he's some kind of attraction. Who wants to watch him? Nobody
Right.
wants to watch him. He's terrible to watch.
How do
Dreadful.
you feel about the undisputed matchup between Tyson Fury and Usyk? Who do you think wins that fight?
I think Fury wins. I think he's too big. His jab is too good. They both have equal great, incredible, great ring IQs.
Mhm.
But I think the height, the reach, the jab, I think it's going to be too much for Usyk, who's basically a small guy.
Yeah, I think Fury's just going to kind of lean on him and use his weight, kind of similar to what he did to a Deontay Wilder, and just wear.
Wrong, Rick, because I
Usyk down.
love Usyk, man. He gives me that old school feel, like fighters that give you that old school feel.
Well,
Like
how
when
could he give you an old school feel when he's left-handed? Because the old school, they didn't have many left-handers, like once in a blue moon.
no, it's the
So,
mentality. It's the mentality. It's the mentality.
Beating guys in their
well,
own backyard and things of that nature, right? Is that what
well,
you're
put
alluding
it
to,
this way
Steve?
to you.
Mhm.
Can you Usyk win? I don't see him winning, but he's
Mhm.
capable. He's good, really good boxer. He's got a high ring IQ, but whatever he does, Tyson Fury does better.
That's how I look at it. I just think the size factor.
Everything he does, Tyson Fury does better.
Yeah.
Rick, everything.
The ring IQ is the only thing that's equal.
What about
There's
foot
nothing
speed or
else.
footwork? What about ring
What,
generalship?
Tyson Fury doesn't have good foot speed?
No, I'm not saying that, but you think is superior to Fury? I mean, to Usyk's?
It looks a lot better to me. What's his name
Wow.
does little circles, and what's his name skates away from danger an awful lot, especially for a big guy 6'9" that you think would be lumbering around there. The guy's got his shit together, guys. People don't think that he does because he says crazy things, he does crazy things and all that. But once he starts training for a fight, he's a real pro.
Oh yeah, he's a dog. He's a dog. I respect Fury. So let me ask you this: since you said that you don't think the fight is going to happen between Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford, what's next for either one of them?
Well, Crawford's going to have a mandatory coming up with Alex Rocha. If Alex Rocha wins on January 28th, he's going to be the next in line because Virgil Ortiz is fighting standing only for the WBA title.
Yep.
What's his name is
Boots
took off to fight for the IBF interim title because he wanted no part of Earl. No part of Spence. Crawford.
Crawford, yep.
And somebody else is in there that's already passed. So I can't remember who it is. I'd have to look. Probably
Keith Thurman is in the top 5,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He's number 1 in the BC. So, and he ain't fighting Crawford. So Rocha's next after that, and he'll end up fighting Rocha for defend his title in a mandatory against Rocha. That's just the way it works.
Wow, that's not really a fight I want to see. But what about Earl? What does Earl do at this point? Does he move up or does he
Earl fights Thurman for the BC belt. That's his mandatory. Heyman's got both guys, and Heyman will be glad to do it.
Wow. Brim, do you have anything else for Rick?
I can't think of anything off the top. I bet you I'll think of something afterwards. But it's really disappointing that to hear that certain fights will never be made. Rick, when you said what you said, it made me just think about Fulton in a new way not happening. And I started getting sad immediately, man.
What's the common denominator from these fights not happening?
Al Heyman,
PPC.
I say it all the time.
Yeah.
If that fight doesn't happen, anybody that's in the chat, everybody that says, "Hey, we're just PPC bashing," I want to hear what y'all got to say about that because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of
it. It's just terrible.
Shout out to my guy Justin Cherry in the chat, man. He wanted to ask you a question, Rick.
Please,
he said, do
please.
fighters?
I'm looking forward to questions. I love answering questions for people and educating.
Appreciate that,
No,
Mr.
I'm being
Rick Glaser.
serious. No. I'm being dead serious.
I know it still made me laugh. Though. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No,
he
people.
wanted to know,
I'm
do
on
fighters-
Facebook
Go ahead,
and
I'm sorry,
Twitter and
go
all
ahead.
this stuff because I want to educate people that don't know because nobody else does. Keep going.
Right. So he wanted to ask you, for the fighters, do they have to hit like a minimum amount of pay-per-view buys before they get a certain percentage?
Yes. No, like sometimes it's 300,000 for let's say certain fights 400. That depends on how big the fight is. I'm sure that the Tyson Fury fights were like 1 million buys or for Fury and what's his name to get a bonus, because they were getting guaranteed so much money. So it just depends. Normally the star fighter gets $8 a home. $5-6 a home, and the other guy will get $3 or $4 a home over a certain amount of homes.
Okay. I'm trying to look in the chat to see if somebody else had a good question for you, Rick. Let me see.
I'll take bad ones too.
Okay, I got you. Let me see. It's a lot of comments. We're behind on them, so give me 1 second. Go ahead, Brim. Do you have anything else? I'm just trying to find something. Let me see. Somebody called you the TK Kirkland of boxing already.
Who? I don't know who TK Kirkland. Who's that?
Man, I believe. I think he's a comedian, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't
know why anybody would say I'm a comedian.
Let me see. Yeah, man.
You want to know? You want to know what You don't want to know what a comedian I am?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
My wife for Christmas just got a 2023 Mercedes S500. The newest thing out.
Talk that shit, Rick. Talk that shit.
So.
Well, hey, man, I don't have any more questions for
before
you,
go. I got another question too. I'm sorry, my apologies, E3. I saw this in the chat. It made me think about it, so I'm gonna try to form the question in regards to boxing and its history. Like with referees and then with the scorecards. How often do you feel like in the course of a year, a certain fight might be you would get that rig feeling? I mean, how often do you feel like that?
It's not dishonesty. It's not corruption. It's incompetence. Believe me,
it's incompetence. Okay. But that makes me think of so the Canelo Bivol fight, right? Bivol clearly won no less than 9 rounds, but one judge had it where if he didn't win the 12th round, it would have been a draw.
Okay, well, I scored the fight and I believe 116, 112. That's 8-4. I didn't have a 9-3 score. Scoring is subjective, and it is subjective. Certain fights it's tough to tell a winner. I get it, but some of the scores are so atrocious. Just incompetence. It's not dishonesty. I'm going to explain something to you guys. Okay, there's no way there's been any fixes. Think about this, because somebody would have got caught by now. Okay, there's just nothing. There's nothing there. It's just incompetence. That's all there is to it.
Interesting take. Because I always felt like it happened every once in a while, at least. Like it's something ain't right.
It's not. It's incompetence. It's not corruption. Believe me. I'm on the inside in the business. They're political appointees. Okay. Whether it's the State Boxing Commission or the BCBA, and there's not corruption. It's strictly incompetence, and there's a lot of incompetence. I'll agree with that.
Gotcha. I really don't want to ask this, but I got to because this is my guy here and I rock with him. But my man IOTBA, everybody sub up to him in the Spit Bucket podcast had a question, and I think it's ridiculous, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Go ahead.
There was a report and rumor came out that that they gave away 10,000 tickets for the Crawford Avanesyan fight, which I can't even. I don't even want to qualify.
Absolutely, unequivocally ridiculous, and it came from the LDBCers, the Earl Sexuals, the Haymanites. There's no way in hell listen. I'm going to tell you how good that fight sold in Omaha. I had a guy there that had a guy on the show, an undercard fight. Okay. And he told me that tickets were going like hotcakes, literally. And he's not an Earl, he's not a Heymanite, he's not an Earl Spence guy, he's not a Crawford guy. He just said, Rick, tickets are selling like hotcakes. Everybody's talking about this event. There was a rap concert in town the same night, and it still did off the wall numbers. So people stop. People got to stop.
Yep.
People got to stop with this stuff. They got to stop downplaying these Earl Sexuals, Haymanites, and stuff. They got to stop downplaying everything. You know that David Avanesyan was not going to be a good fight. It was a great fight till he got stopped. No different than a Tank fight. Okay, and you know the guy put pressure on him. He came back and stopped him in the 6th round. It was a good fight. It was a damn good fight, and it was a worthy guy. All I know is David Avanesyan stepped up where nobody else would. Hello?
Go ahead, Brim.
Hello?
Brim, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm looking at the chat too. Just I already know the answer to this when I ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Who do you feel wins between Crawford and Spence?
Please. Crawford is too fast, too agile. He can switch from lefty to righty. He makes provisions in the fight and adjustments in the fight, and it's not. It's a one-way party, and most everybody feels that way. All the boxing insiders. Heyman knows that. That's why he's not doing the fight.
But what do you say to the Earl Sexuals?
Ask him if he thinks the score should be live. Absolutely not. It's dangerous because a guy could be behind in the fight, and all he is going to swing, and he could land a lucky punch. All he's going to do is try to punch, or he can get knocked out himself. But you're setting a dangerous precedent to get knocked out or knock somebody else late in the fight. If you don't know who's winning, you're going to just box normal. Rick Glaser who got forced to a loss against Earl, or was it money paid to get who was out of that tournament? That's all bullshit. No, there's nothing to that at all.
Gotcha.
Nothing.
What do you say to the Earl Sexuals that say otherwise about the Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford fight? Because they come on my panel all the time. They say the
Earl Sexuals. They're supposed to say that. The Earl Sexuals.
That's why he has a jab, the volume punching.
Could you imagine how much money that Earl Spence could make if he sold T-shirts and hats that said Earl Sexual with a hashtag on a hat and a T-shirt at $30 a piece? How much money this guy wouldn't have to fight anymore?
Yeah. So not the strap. So he need to sell the Earl Sexual shirts and not the strap shirts. It's basically what you're
tell this guy here. Tell this guy that it's not true. This is all BS. Does not selling 2-for-1s. It's great crazy. Okay, I know people that were there. Everybody said several people. One particular told me they were selling like hotcakes. So,
okay, this guy here has another question. He said, "Do you think Tyson Fury will defeat Alexander like he Otto Wallen?"
No, he wasn't ready for Otto Wallen. He didn't get good sparring for that fight, and he didn't think Otto Wallen was as good as he was. He knows Usyk's good. He'll be ready.
Okay. Shout out to Al Mullah, man, Young Money. He said, "What about the ref admitting he cheated for Manny Pacquiao?" That's a good question.
Well, I mean, it's an isolated case. Yeah, okay, he did. You know, 20 years ago, 22 years ago, something like that. I mean, he's been fighting in America since 2002, so it had to be longer than that. I don't know what year it was, but it didn't happen here in the United States. It happened in the Philippines. So could it have happened there? Yeah, of course it could have. Absolutely. But there's too much scrutiny here, guys. Believe me. There's too much scrutiny.
Well, Rick, you've answered all the questions that I had for you, my brother. Brim, do you have anything else before we let Mr. Rick go? Brim Reaper. All right, Rick,
Oh,
man,
cool.
tell the people where they can find you in the chat, whether that's your Twitter, your
Well,
IG, your
I'm
YouTube.
blocked on Twitter right now. I appealed it.
Why
They
they
got
block
me
you? Why did
suspended.
they block
Free
you?
Rick Glaser. Free Rick Glaser
Yeah,
on Twitter.
it's no big deal. But it's at Real Rick Glaser 1. I got about 5,500 followers.
Okay.
And then but you can still follow me even though I'm blocked. And then I got I'm on Facebook at just Rick Glaser. I got about 4,990 followers. And I am what I am. I answer all boxing questions. Anybody can call me. My website is glazerboxing.com. My phone number is listed right there. You guys can call me, and that's the story there. So I answer all questions, anything boxing related. If you're a fan, it's free. If you're in the business, I charge you $600 an hour.
Hey, let me ask you this. I lied. I got a couple more questions for you. Who is your favorite boxers of all time? Your top 5? Just out of curiosity.
Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler, Larry Holmes, Lennox Lewis, and Fury's climbing in that ranks right now.
Oh wow!
You know, Alexis Arguello. Those are my favorites. You know.
Do you think
Oscar was too? You know, so Oscar's in that group.
Do you feel
Hagler
like Crawford
to me?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hagler was the ultimate fighter. Duran came in a lot of fights. He wasn't 100% in shape. Hagler was the ultimate professional. He was always in great shape. There was no excuses. He was a real man.
One last question, Rick. Do you feel like Terrence Crawford at 154 pounds can defeat a Jermell Charlo?
I don't know if he can, but I wouldn't know who to bet on.
Wow.
I think he can beat Charlo just because Charlo has shown that if he can get emotional in the ring, and it can cause him to be defensively irresponsible.
Well, yeah, I can see that, but I don't know who would win, but it would be a hell of a fight. I mean, if Crawford lost, it wouldn't be no blowout. It'd be a nip and tuck fight every step of the way. Believe me, when that fight's over, Jermell Charlo, if he won, would be glad the fight's over. Trust me.
Do you think that's a better fight than Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford?
100%. Not even close.
Wow.
And the reason why you feel that way is because Errol doesn't live a boxer lifestyle, and people.
Well, that's one reason. I think he had a lot of slippage since the car accident. Then he had the eye problem.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of slippage, guys.
Yeah, he's
a lot
refurbished.
Of slippage.
That's what I always say. He's refurbished.
I don't know what he is, but he is what he is. He's just not what he was. And Terrence is still, to me, the top dog out there in the welterweight division. It's going to be Father Time will catch up with him, but it's not caught up with him yet.
What do you think of a Jerron Boots Ennis?
I think he's an excellent fighter, but nobody's seen him get hit in the chin yet. Oh, I mean, he's not fighting. He went the IBF interim route, didn't he? So he could fight Spence. He's sure not looking to fight Terrence. He'd rather fight Spence than he would Terrence. Isn't that true?
Yeah, I'm starting to notice that all these guys are kind of looking at the big fish like he's big fish, like he's food. That's what I'm starting to think.
That Spence is?
Yeah, like he's food, like he's the easier.
100%.
Even though he has the majority of
the
belts.
Don't be surprised if he fights Thurman and retires. I'm talking about Spence. Don't be, or maybe he goes to 54 if Jermell Charlo moves to 60. Jermell, the 54 moves to 60, then he might go to 54. But I could see him retiring if Jermell stays at 54.
See, Jermell just came out the other day and said that he can see himself finishing his whole career at 154. And Earl has been on record of saying, look, I'll fight anybody. I think he want to fight Jermell more than he want to fight Crawford.
Come on. That's all bullshit. We know that.
So he's just talking. Okay.
One guy said, do you think Crawford should go to 60? Well, I think he should go to 54 first.
Okay, then. Well, I appreciate your time, Mr. Rick Glaser, man, for coming on with me and Brim Reaper and the Wolfpack, man. I really appreciate your knowledge of the sport. you're more than welcome to come on anytime with us, man. Brim, do you
Just
have
call.
any
All
last
you
words?
guys got to do is gotta call me. But I want you guys on the show collective in case one of you runs out of breath. For instance, the other guy can take over.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was on a podcast once, and all of a sudden the guy disappeared. So he comes back. He says, "Oh, I'll tell you later what happened." So I finished up. I called him back. I said, "We finished." I said, "What happened?" "Oh, my wife called me. She wanted me to take something out of the oven."
No, that'll never happen. Rick, we be online for like 4 to 5 hours some nights, man. We don't get tired of talking.
You got to keep your woman under control. Don't ever forget that.
Absolutely.
Okay. That doesn't mean
E3 knows that
hit her.
all too well.
It doesn't mean hit her. That just means keep them hoes and bitches under control. Got to do that. You know what I mean?
Already, Rick. Do you have anything else for Brim?
I'll tell you a quick story. Okay,
Yeah,
one time I went to sleep with this girl, and he says, well, what about my reputation? I says, that's why I'm here.
I wasn't ready for that, Rick. I don't know what to say. Oh man,
Guys, it's been a pleasure. Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year to all the listeners, viewers, subscribers, and all the Earl sexuals, the Hamanites, the LDBCers. Those Earl sexuals are very dangerous.
Oh man, they hate my
very
guts, man. I told you I got a 19-part series. They hate me. I know they hate me, but I don't care.
How about Coach Malachi? Do you think they like him?
No, they hate Coach too. Shout out to Coach Malachi. They hate his guts too.
It's a funny thing. Ready? The LDBCers, the Earl sexuals, the Hamanites, the Wilderettes, the Agenda crew, all these people, they hate black men that tell the truth. I know
just said that the other day. Yep.
They're all in fantasy, but they hate the black man who tells the truth. That's a sad thing. Okay, I know a white guy they also hate that tells the truth.
I got that. All right, man. I appreciate you for coming on, Mr. Rick. Take care, my brother.
Thanks for having me,
man.
and guys. Anytime, you guys ask great questions. Your viewers ask great questions, and I look forward to returning at your guys say so. Okay, enjoy your evening. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, man. Shout out to everybody in the Wolf chat, man. Let's see if we can get a couple of questions in this mug before we let y'all go tonight, man. I can't be on all night. I'm tired from last night, man. Shout out to the Brim Reaper, man, for setting it up for his boy E-Thriller, aka the Black Picasso. I appreciate you, my brother.
Hey, wait till I got what's in store for you next. I ain't gonna tell you yet, but I'm working on something right now. You might do a backflip if I make this happen, but we're gonna work on it.
Oh shit! In my smoky voice, man. Shout out to my guy Young Money for that super chat, man. I really appreciate your love and support, fam. Let me get you right. You already know how we play, man. Let me get you right, fam. Let's get this party jumping.
Everything's gonna be alright. I got a feeling everything's gonna be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Here we go.
Yeah, man. Shout out to my day one, man. Al Moolah, man, for that super chat donation. Shout out to my guy Justin, too, man, for that cash app you sent me earlier, my brother. It helps the channel go a long way. Let's get it.
Y'all gotta hype my man up. Hype him up. Hey, hustle man. The damn dog ain't doing nothing, man.
But yeah, man, shout out to everybody in this bitch, man. Shout out to everybody that hit the like button. Shout out to the playback game, man. Until next time, we are gone. I apologize, but I got to get my ass off tonight, man. I'll holler at y'all. Water.
Yo, what's up? This is B-Hop. I'd like to say what's up, man. E-Thriller, the Black Picasso. What's going on? This is the champ, the Hall of Famer. Respect, the undisputed. Yeah.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
The Black Picasso cleaning up the sport of boxing, speaking facts over the gossip. Haters all up in the comments. I ain't here to be liked, but smash that like and noti button. We don't sugarcoat nothing, just healthy boxing discussions. Thriller, painting these pictures oh so vivid. Applying Duke, Coach K, that straight full court pressure. Only God could judge me, so tell these chumps ducking smoke. Remember one thing that the boxing guys don't like: ugly. Shut out Big Fish and everybody that joins the panel. For all my new supporters, sub to the channel. Like Floyd say, it's easy work. That bait jab with that left hook send them straight to sleep. Experts, we the experts. We never sugarcoat. Tune in to Black Picasso. Sit back, enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.